tonight on a very special Colorado Brew Talk, we have two happy accidents or terrible mistakes. So our first happy accident or terrible mistake is going to be a Kentucky Common gone terribly wrong. And our second one is a
Pilsner. The Big Brew Pilsner.
So let's see what they end up tasting like.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So not too long ago, we mentioned the Schwarzbier, which I said is a very underappreciated, underbrewed style. And today I got another one. So this is a Kentucky Common. There was a brewery in town, or there is a brewery in town who used to have a great Kentucky Common recipe. And I think they are one of maybe 2 or 3 commercial examples I've ever seen. So I wanted to, they end up losing their recipes, my understanding. Oh. A brewer left, he didn't take good notes. That whoever knows the true story can let me know. But either way, I was like, hey, I should brew a Kentucky Common.
Yeah.
So this is an episode of horrible accident or lucky mistake? No.
Happy accident.
Happy accident or terrible mistake. Thank you.
Yeah.
TM. No, I can't even remember it. So what happened here was the recipe, let me give you the recipe, and I haven't brewed this recipe yet. So I'll explain that in a second. So it's basically, it was I want to say it's a 2-gallon recipe. I'll have it in the show notes as well. It has 2 pounds, 12.8 ounces of pale malt, 9.6 ounces of yellow cornflakes, brewer's yellow cornflakes, not the cereal box, 3.2 ounces of flaked rye, 1.6 ounces of black patent malt, 1.6 ounces of caramel malt, 120L, and then I use 0.23 ounces of cluster at 60, 0.09 ounces of cluster at 30, 0.09 ounces of Hallertauer middle fruit at 20 minutes, and then it's brewed with USO5. I'm sorry, fermented with USO5. Yeah, 2-gallon recipe. Oh. So the problem is that I went to a homebrew store I'm not very familiar with. And as I was rifling through the containers, I got some rye and I was weighing it out. And I actually got into the oats, flaked oats instead of flaked wheat. And I was really mixing it up. And I corrected myself, and then I realized I did it again. And it doesn't help that Scott, not the same Scott, a different Scott, but Scott was talking to me the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just trying to carry on a conversation with him. I'm messing up this. It was flaked yellow corn, yeah. Flaked corn and flaked rye, okay. So I mixed up the flake rye and flaked oats. And I'm pretty sure the corn was dead on. But anyway, so I don't really know what I got.
Yeah.
So I brewed it. Anyway, said it's already in the bag. I already bought it. Let's see what it comes out, how it comes out. So
I think it's, I didn't realize you put rye in it when I first tasted it. I was like, oh, that's odd. But I think it's the rye that's kind of popping out for me.
Yeah. And it's undercarbonated. I'd mentioned earlier I was having a problem with my CO2 system, and this was one of the victims as well. I just wanted to get it. I've been sampling it so much first it was overcarb, then it was undercarb, then it was flat, and it was all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
I don't dislike it. So.
Definitely not crazy about it.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know, I'll be honest with you, the first sip I was like, oh, I don't know about that. But the more I drink it, it's growing on me. And
it just has kind of a strange flavor at the finish. I'm not expecting it to be there. I'm wondering if it's oats or I don't really know.
It's almost
fruity though.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like a citrus rind. I mean, just a hint of that, but you don't have any citrusy hops in there. You have Hallertauer, right?
Yeah.
But it has kind of that.
Or even licorice. I got licorice on the brain today then. It's just I don't know, it's just a strange flavor to me. So I called it Kentucky Common Candidate 1. But like I said, I hosed up the recipe. So I'm going to have to brew it again with the correct ingredients.
Yeah, I think so. Color-wise, for some reason, I have it in my head that Kentucky Common is supposed to be like on the more clear side, or like the yellow side, but I guess not.
No, it's black. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I think the one that Brass had, I thought that was more of a yellowish.
No, that was black.
Was it black? Yeah. Man,
and
obviously, don't remember.
The thing where I had, and so once I get a good recipe, I can do a full blown, discussion about it. But in researching this recipe, I was reading some old Zimmergy articles where they were doing sour mashes with them, and they believed that so Kentucky Common is kind of like California Common. They brewed it in Kentucky. Everyone drank it. You drink it fresh. It was highly carbonated, low ABV. You could drink a ton of it every night. And they used the same ingredients they used for making whiskey or scotch. No, bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it depends on the county. But you get what I'm saying. So it was assumed they did sour mashes because they were sour. And the sourness came from being stored in kegs, evidently. So there's a lot, in casks or barrels. So there's a lot of discussion on what is and isn't right. I can't remember where I based this recipe off of. I could throw a link down there. But it seems like now they're saying, no, they weren't sour mashed. They used different ingredients than what they used for whiskey. And
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to learn more about, because I know so little about how to make whiskey and the distilling process. I just don't know what kind of similarities there are between that and beer.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's my understanding that's basically beer. That they're beer without the hops that they're distilling.
That's my
or they ferment it out.
That's what I
or they'll go like heavy corn and heavy rice and stuff.
Yeah.
And because they just want sugar.
So, I don't know, I always thought that'd be interesting, or if this is how these popped up, is that, some toothless old dude there with a still out in the woods, and he's just like, okay, well, I'm getting tired of whiskey, we just make some beer now, So, or, half beer, half whiskey, or, I don't know how likely that is, probably not very, but.
Yeah, I don't know. So, it's something I'd like to delve into and get a good solid recipe under my belt for, because it's a great beer.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, as we mentioned, I like Schwarzbier, I like dark milds. I like anything with a lot of flavor. It doesn't need to have a lot of alcohol to it. That's just a good session beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I'm going to have 2 or 3 of them in a night, I'd like it to be lower ABV with a lot of flavor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting to the point, too, where Schwarzbiers and British or English bitters, and, ones that are low ABV but pretty malty. I enjoy those.
So the verdict: happy accident or terrible mistake?
Boy,
I'm
not a terrible mistake. Yeah, not a terrible mistake.
Not a happy accident.
So no.
I'd say in the middle.
Yeah, it's a
Mike effed up.
It's a pleasant. What's another word for?
It's a somewhat drinkable mistake.
It's a pleasant. Or I don't know. I can't think of the word.
I don't know.
I'll think of it as soon as you turn that off.
I'm not going to dump it. Well, like I said, I only made 2 gallons of it.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
Which I'm glad I didn't end up with 5 gallons of it.
Yeah, that would be rough. But I don't know. The more I drank it, the easier it was going down. I can see where you said licorice at the end. I still get kind of a citrus rind, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's from hops though. That's got to be from the malt. Yeah. Just a combination of the corn and rye.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Not too bad.
Well, good. Thanks. Yeah. Well, we got part 2 coming right up.
So the second one is mine. So Big Brew was in early May.
Yep.
And I think this year they went outside the box, and usually they do like a pale ale or an IPA or something like that. And they're like, well, we're going to do Pilsner. I think it was mostly Pilsner malt.
Yeah.
I can't remember the grain bill.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, I like Pilsners, I can do that. And so, long story short, I did that. I think I hopped it with probably Hallertauer Middle Brew. I can definitely look at the recipe and find out for sure. Yeah.
And German Pilsner.
German Pilsner, yes. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, it was Pilsner malt, a little bit of carafoam, hopped it with a Hallertau. So I was like, oh, this should be pretty simple. Yeah, not so much. It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
It was, to me, it was like, had a really fruity flavor.
It had a lot of fermentation character to
Yeah,
it.
that's a very correct, nice way to say that.
Well, no, it was. Yeah.
Fermentation character.
Well, I mean, lager is basically beer without any yeast character to it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I pressure fermented it as I tend to do, but so I was not happy with it, and I was going to dump it, and Mike suggested, he was like, well, why don't you just dry hop it, just throw some hops in there. So that's what I did, and so I put in addition to the little bit of Hallertau, let's see, what should I put in here? Sorry, all my notes are all over the place. Oh yeah, almost 2 ounces of Cascade.
Cascade.
That's
really.
That's just what I had there. I'm like, let's get rid of this. I'm never gonna use
and
it.
I asked with such surprise because when I first smelled it, it smelled like sweet grain. It smells crazy like grain to me.
It does. Oh, it even tastes.
It even does. Yeah, it tastes it after a couple of sips. Like the first sip or two, I had more of a hop character to it, and because Cascade is like grapefruit and pine, right?
I thought it was more piney. Yeah. Well, the sea hops are typically.
Yeah,
piney.
one of the two, and I didn't get any of that from it at all.
Yeah.
Maybe some pine, but it I'm just tasting it as grain.
That's changed flavors. So. That's weird.
Were you getting a lot of pine last time when you tried it?
No, I wasn't getting pine. But it wasn't, because right now I'm getting more, like you said, more kind of like a muted kind of, almost a grain flavor, like you said. And that wasn't there.
Oh, and you know what? The citrus to me, it's just the way it's presenting it. It makes me think of sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, now I'm kind of tasting it a little more thoroughly. I'm like, wait a minute, I think that might be pine. Like the pitch.
Right.
Pitch
Yeah,
flavor,
like a resinous type of, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm still not in love with it. I'll probably wind up dumping it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I would drink it.
Yeah.
You can always put more in it, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that occurred to my mind. Yeah, it's like, just clean out my freezer. Like, what other kinds of hops do I have in here? Just to kind of throw them in there. Yeah. I may have left the hops in there a little bit too long. Maybe that's why it's long. Like, way too long. I forgot about it.
Weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, so, and the reason I suggested that is because I had a pale ale I did at a big brew, and I used a really weird yeast and a really weird hop, and the way they mixed was horrific.
Yeah.
And so I ended up dry hopping it, or wet hopping it, actually, I believe is the correct term. And so you throw the hops in a bag, like a nylon bag or whatever you want, and you put it in the keg of beer while it's cold, and you can taste it as you go to see how it's picking up that flavor. Yeah. And I ended up using, I think, 4 ounces of hops, because I did it once and it wasn't quite enough, and I did it again, and it was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, I don't know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the hops that I used, that I had the problem with, were Greengeist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the yeast was like a Kvike yeast.
Yeah, that's a
radical. And I think it's going, I was doing something really weird. But anyway, I like messing around with the big brew beers because I don't make the work, so it takes me so much less time. And I'm usually not paying attention when we're brewing because there's like 50 people around and we're all drinking beer and stuff. And so I usually mess the recipe up anyway.
Yeah, well, that's why if I dump this one, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. It's just a little bit of time invested, just time for
I gotta say, I like that. That's kind of interesting. Well, that's really interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
So, I'll give you some of this too, if you want it.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Sure. But, yeah, so that was my contribution to Happy Accident.
I'm going with Happy Accident, because if you like a pale ale, this definitely has the malt quality of the pale ale, and it gives you the implication of hops that you desire. I would dry hop it a little more. Or wet hop it a little more.
With a little bit different hops, maybe.
Or even the same hops.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I have any more.
Yeah.
I was trying to do this on the cheap.
Or another sea hop.
Yeah. I think I have some Chinook or something up there. I could probably scrounge some up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see.
So,
yeah, I might do that.
Yeah. So, do you have a happy accident? Do you have a terrible mistake? Do you have a happy mistake or a terrible accident? Let us know. We had a couple good stories the last time we did a viewer feedback episode. Would love yours if you have one. Go ahead, make sure you click like and subscribe, and send us any questions or suggestions you have. So, yeah, easy peasy.
Yep.
Yeah. So, till next time, cheers.
Cheers.